At this point, especially if you're a newer player, you would want to look at this situation, identify it as a possible situation where you could take switch advantage and take control of this game. What is going on, everybody? Welcome back to the channel. Ox here with another video. If you're new to the channel, we do upload Pokemon Go content mostly related to PvP, and if you're a returning subscriber like Jonas M, thank you for the support. In today's video, we are taking a look at an open Ultra League team featuring 0 XL Pokemon. Initially, this video was recorded about me reaching veteran rank at 2500 elo, but then in the next day, I went up over 200 points with the same team. Now, by the time this video comes out, I'll probably be off the leaderboard or I'll be lower on the leaderboard than I was today. As of right now, Saturday, I'm number 418 on the leaderboard at 2683. With the Go Battle Day, queue times were pretty awful, so I only did 8 sets out of a possible 20. I don't want to be sitting in queue, and that's one of the drawbacks about actually reaching the leaderboard. So the team, as you can see here, is one that I featured in previous seasons. However, there are a couple of key changes to the team. The Escavalier is not running Drill Run. We're running Acid Spray and the newly buffed Megahorn. I want to see if I catch a couple of people off guard with the bait move in Acid Spray and then land a very powerful Megahorn. And then the Lapras in the back is actually the Shadow version this time. In previous seasons, I have ran the non-Shadow with Ice Beam. This time I'm running the Shadow with Skull Bash. That is going to affect the Giratina matchup, becomes a lot worse. The Skull Bash, of course, is for some other matchups we may encounter in this video. Overall, this is a very strong team and I would recommend it. Probably Drill Run plus Megahorn because it is a bit more straightforward to use. Acid Spray can get a bit annoying and definitely requires a bit more experience with that move, but the team worked very well for me and I'm sure it could work for other players as well. If you guys enjoy this type of content, please make sure you smash that like button. It helps the channel grow. Leave a comment in the comment section down below, and without any further ado, let's jump into the first battle right now. Alright, so let's jump into the battles right here. First matchup going up against Gnawdog, the Razor, a very talented trainer who I have battled on numerous occasions in previous seasons. Got a pretty bad lead here for Escavalier, so what I'm going to look to do actually is go for the Acid Spray, hope it's not CMP, and swap out into the Giratina. We actually did miss one counter there because we desynced at the start, so that's not good, but we do get off the Acid Spray, swap out into the Giratina. We did get the shield. That was the most important part in that situation, needed to get the shield there. We see Alolan Muck, which of course is not good, and at this point I realized that my Giratina is kind of the only answer for that Machamp. Remember, the Machamp exited this matchup with a lot of energy stored, so it's going to be a threat to the Lapras in the back. So I kind of needed to double shield here, I felt, and preserve as much health as I possibly could on this Giratina. So what I'm going to look to do here actually is stall the clock by throwing these Dragon Claws and then look to catch the next Dark Pulse onto the Escavalier, which we are able to do. This will be very close to taking out the Escavalier. We get in one counter, and now we're going to wait out the switch timer here. Very important. This game is all about time management right here. Giratina comes in, they bring in the Gengar. So I'm going to go for the Shadow Sneak here. We may see the opponent use their final shield, and then if they go for Shadow Punch, it actually will not KO Giratina from this range. So I should be able to get to one more Dragon Claw right here, which we are able to do. So Dragon Claw is going to come through. It's not going to knock out the Gengar. And then I'm going to swap out into the Lapras right here. I want to preserve that Giratina, of course, for a potential endgame situation. Getting the farm down there is huge on the Gengar. And now the Machamp going to come back in. It's loaded on energy. We get the Ice Shard through, so we should have a Surf ready to go. And it looks like we are going to get off this move first, hoping it KOs, but the Machamp hangs on by a thread. We sneak in the Ice Shard, which is important here because if we survive, that's going to knock out the Machamp, but they swap out to defer that damage onto the Muck instead. Machamp comes back in, takes us out because the counter finishes before the Ice Shard. That Giratina we saved with the Shadow Claw resisted counter damage. Shadow Claw knocks out the opponent. Insane battle. We take that game. GG's. Next battle doesn't get any easier, going up against Raycore, another very talented trainer right here. We got Giratina Origin into Escavalier. So I have to swap out immediately, of course. That's even worse lead than the Machamp. Coming with the Giratina Altered, and this could be a Shadow Ball, so I'm going to decide to actually shield here. It's a guessing game. We do correctly guess that time, and the Cresselia comes in here. So Cresselia, of course, is a manageable matchup for Giratina, but because we're down shields, it's actually not a great matchup here. And we don't want to go down both shields at this point in the game, right? So gonna let the Moonblast go through here. And remember, they stayed in a long time with their Giratina, so the switch clock is desynced. I'm going to look to swap out into the Escavalier there. I threw with the Giratina because I wasn't sure that I could actually wait out the timer without the Cresselia getting into a move, and that's why I threw the Shadow Sneak. So Escavalier comes in, they actually are running Future Sight, which is not great. I go for the Megahorn here, just looking to KO. Wasn't expecting a shield, but the opponent actually did shield here, which actually I think works out better for us because we're not going to get knocked out from this Future Sight. It's going to allow us to build up a lot more energy here. I'm going to throw on the CMP tie. Acid Spray should be enough to KO from this range, which it is, and the Giratina is going to come in, it's going to farm us down, but I swap out instead into the Giratina Altered. Had a move just about ready to go. Thankfully, did not swap out to catch it, so we get the final shield, and now we have a shield advantage. They come in with Venusaur. Now, important thing to note here from the opponent's side is that we had Escavalier and Giratina Altered, so it's very likely our third Pokemon should be weak to Venusaur in theory, right? And in this case, it is, but we have a shield advantage, so what I'm looking to do here is shield up the Frenzy Plant because I assume it's going to do more damage than the Shadow Ball from the Giratina, and pray that this Surf is enough to KO. If it's not, because we wait out the switch timer, should be able to come back in with the Escavalier here, which we are going to do. And at this point, I feel like the opponent might have had a move ready, but they didn't want to throw it in order to prevent the Lapras from getting extra farm. So instead, they let the Venusaur go down, which gives the Giratina a bit more farm, and then we come in with the Lapras. Now, fortunately for us, Shadow Ball isn't going to knock us out, so it really comes down to can we Ice Shard down before they get to an Ominous Wind? And in this case, we can. Coming back from an extremely difficult lead right there, we take that game. Another very solid battle. And those were the first two battles with this team, so it was pretty insane. Now, granted, this is a team I've used a lot, but the first two battles, well, I guess actually just for this video, but we get a positive lead right here. Escavalier into Cresselia, and I'm going to go straight for the Megahorn. Megahorn isn't going to knock out the Cresselia. It does about 55% of the Cresselia's health. However, if we went for Acid Spray there first and they shielded that, then the Megahorn is really going to threaten, and you guys are going to see a bit of that in some later battles. So we're going to let this move come through here. Nothing really threatens Escavalier yet at this point, and it's only Moonblast, so I'm going to go for, well, I was going to go for the Megahorn, but they swapped out, so we do transfer that damage onto Lapras, thankfully, because that Incinerate likely would have taken out the Escavalier. So that's the thing about the Talonflame. Incinerate's such a slow move that you can prevent the snipe. So they go for Brave Bird, which means Surf is going to knock them out, and we're still up a shield. And now will they come back in with the Cresselia? No, they come in with the Swampert instead. So we'll get to the Surf about the same time as the Hydro Cannon. CMP, they're going to throw their energy. Totally okay with this. And now we will align the Giratina Altered form onto the Shadow Swampert. Save that Escavalier for the Cresselia. Remember, we do have a move ready as well on the Escavalier. So going to throw this Dragon Claw, nice catch from the opponent right there. And going to throw this Megahorn, which will actually be doing a lot of damage at this point to the Cresselia. Don't think it would KO, but we do get the shield. And at this point, we have the shield right here. This Cresselia is just about in the range of being knocked out from one Megahorn, so I'm going to overfarm quite a bit. Look to throw on the CMP tie. So Megahorn coming through here. I'm hoping to get off an Acid Spray on that Swampert before it could take us out. It's likely going to go for the aggressive farm down, but with the Acid Spray debuff, plus the Giratina still having a shield and a lot of health, this game should be over. Counter did a lot of damage right there. Earthquake isn't going to KO, so we don't have to shield the first move here. In case they do bait, you never want to shield in that type of situation. Farm down with the Dragon or the Shadow Claws, which are doing a lot because of the dropped defense in the Swampert. We take that game off to a 3-0 start here in set number 1. Escavalier into Galvantula, a very difficult lead, and Galvantula is a very solid option actually in the Open Ultra. Of course, it loses pretty hard to Giratina, but has a lot of solid matchups otherwise. Going to go for the Megahorn right here, which would take out the Galvantula, I believe. So they have to burn a shield. And this is going to be a discharge. I decided to let it go this time. If it's lunge, it would actually be a lot better for us. But because I didn't show, we actually have farm down there, which is not good. Coming with the Giratina. And we're going to get hit by a lunge here. Ideally, you'd prefer that they stay in here and just keep throwing lunge. But most players are going to swap out. In this case, they come with Cresselia. And because we are debuffed, I mean, we could stay in here since we do have a shield advantage and likely win this match. But I decided to actually just throw a Shadow Sneak here. Possibly take one Moonblast and then swap out into the Lapras. So I'm going to actually swap out immediately instead. So Could be a Grass Knot right here. Lapras, of course, has a very poor matchup against the Galvantula, so it's not very good. We're going to get outpaced to the Skull Bash, so I'm forced to go for the Surf right here instead. And here I'm in a tricky spot because if I let this go through, Galvantula could pretty much come in here and farm us down. Future Sight, as you see. So I let it go through, they come in. I have 2 shields still, but at this point we get hit by Lunge. Even if I farm down here completely, we're going to be debuffed for the remainder of the game. And we're actually going to get double debuffed. So at this point, there's really nothing we could do here. Lunge comes through. I'm going to farm down completely. I'm loaded on energy, but we're debuffed. We're very low in health. They're going to come with Lapras, and at this point it's GG. So I'm not even going to throw my moves here. Just going to let them take us out. If we play that game a bit differently, maybe got a shield from the Galvantula, like 2 shields. Like if we matched the shield and then got a second one from them, and then stayed in with the Cresselia, and somehow got into the Lapras mirror, maybe we could have won that game, but even then, it's still very difficult. Escavalier into Charizard, very difficult lead, so we're going to swap out, and we get a manageable matchup here in the mid game. So at this point, especially if you're a newer player, you would want to look at this situation, identify it as a possible situation where you could take switch advantage and take control of this game, right? You don't want your Escavalier on the Charizard, and when you're presented with a situation like this, where you could take switch advantage and keep that Lapras on the Charizard instead, you want to go for that. So I'm going to shield up the Moonblast right here and commit to the farm down. We should be able to farm down before they get to another charge move, and they'll likely come back in with the Charizard. Now, in this situation, you don't want to switch out because you'll probably get the Escavalier aligned onto the Charizard again at some point. So even though you're going to give the Charizard a lot of energy here by farming us down completely with Dragon Breath, we're still getting off a lot of damage here with Dragon Claw, as you could see. And now we're even on shields, coming with Lapras, they swap out onto Meganium, and this is where the alignment comes into play. If we had Meganium on the Lapras, a lot tougher of a matchup, but we end up taking that game thanks to winning back switch. We go 4-1 in that first set. Very happy with the results of this team. Let's see if we can keep it rolling in set number 2. So in this second set of battles, I actually decided to feature a set where we went 3-2, I believe here, and it features a lot of difficult matchups, like as you can see here, Escavalier versus Swampert. We're going to swap out into Lapras. We get met by a Registeel. And this is where I kind of like the Shadow Lapras, because you could see Ice Shard is actually chunking away, and Surfs are going to hurt. So I let the first move go through. Focus Blast isn't going to KO, but they can't really lock on down here, right? Because Surf, as you could see, it adds up, and lock-on's doing nothing. The Ice Shards is what I'm most impressed by. Look at how much damage this Registeel is taking. And we actually get to the third Surf here before the next move. So if they let this go through here, we could actually shield up and take switch advantage. So that's what we're going to do. We're going to shield up the Flash Cannon. We're going to commit to the Ice Shard farm down, and we'll have a Surf ready to go for whatever comes back in. And Lapras hits pretty hard against almost anything in the meta. I mean, not everything, obviously, but Surf in this situation is going to hit very hard. Swampert lets that go through. They're going to commit to the farm now, but look at these Ice Shards. We get them below 50% health there in exchange for a shield deficit. I'm okay with that. Cresselia comes in, and now we don't have to stay with Giratina because we have an even better answer in Cresselia there. So, in Escavalier, I should say. So Escavalier is going to come in. We're going to go for the Acid Spray bait here instead. Likely going to see a shield because their Swampert is very low. And now they are in the danger zone because Megahorn is going to knock them out from this range. So Moonblast comes through. We're going to go straight for the Megahorn right here. And this is going to take out the Cresselia, but they shield instead. So they swap out to Swampert. I want to shield here and preserve this Megahorn for the end game. So Giratina couldn't come back in. I mean, at this point, we might not even need the Escavalier because look at how healthy this Giratina Altered is. So let's see if they have the Earthquake ready to go here. They do, so that's going to do a lot of damage. We're still not exactly in Moonblast range, and we should be able to actually get off 2 Shadow Sneaks here. So Moonblast isn't going to KO. They could attempt to farm us down, which is likely what they need to do in this situation. So I'm going to go for the Shadow Sneak, and they need to farm down. We actually get to another Dragon Claw. This should be enough to take us out. That game actually got close, because if they did manage to successfully farm us down, they would have been able to win that game, because I actually did not have the Megahorn ready yet, so there would be no CMP. They get the move off first, and they would take that game. But another solid victory there against another difficult lead. Escavalier into Obstagoon, finally a very positive lead, and it's so nice to have the Escavalier here instead of the Articuno because it's a much more dominant match. they swap out into Escavalier, so we're going to come in with the hard counter, of course, Giratina. What I'm worried about in this situation is them having a backline that is double weak to Giratina, and then having two things that could beat Lapras, right? So if that is the situation, we'll either need a shield advantage or we'll need something like Escavalier to put in a lot of work. So I'm going to throw the Dragon Claw right here. Should be enough to take out the Escavalier in this range. And then come back in with the Obstagoon. I just want to do as much chip damage as I can here with the Dragon Claw. They can't really farm down with counter, right? So they're forced to throw Night Slash at some point. They'll likely overcharge quite a bit before throwing that Night Slash, but at the most, they're either going to take a lot of damage on this Obstagoon and then have like 2 Night Slashes ready to go, or they'll throw a bit sooner and have maybe 1 Night Slash ready. So you can see they're building up a lot of energy. They're going to throw right here. I'm going to let this go through and then come in with the Escavalier. Escavalier could also pretty much tank any move that the Obstagoon throws. Just to come in with Toxicroak. And I'm going to go for the Acid Spray, of course. If this is Drill Run, it's going to hurt. So they have to respect the shield here. They do. And now we should be able to actually get to one more Acid Spray, which could potentially be a Drill Run. So I'm going to shield here to make them think that I really want to get off this Drill Run right here. It's not necessarily so that I'll survive, but it's to make them think I have Drill Run and they shield. So I swap out into Lapras right here. Look at these Ice Shards. This is a bad matchup for Lapras, but the double debuff going to KO. I shielded there in case it was a dynamic punch. We have the Surfs ready, and this should be enough to take out the Obstagoon in this range. Obstagoon is definitely lower on energy, but it wouldn't have knocked out the Lapras there anyways, so we take that game off to a 2-0 start in the second set. Hopping into the next battle right here. And we got Escavalier into a Giratina Altered, so one of the worst leads you could see here. And of course, Lapras isn't a great answer here. Giratina in the mirror match, it's Dragon Breath. So I swap out into Giratina here. Notice there isn't one particular Pokemon I like to swap into, either Lapras or Giratina every time. It really depends on the lead Pokemon and what I think the backline is going to be. So in this case, I decided to come in with the Giratina Altered instead, and they're actually staying in here, which makes me think that their backline is probably very weak to Giratina. So maybe it would have made more sense to come with Lapras, but I decided to shield here in order to take the alignment, and we'll see what they come in with. So it's a Swampert, so I'm okay with this. Gonna throw the Dragon Claw here, probably get off 2, and then we'll come in with the Lapras once the Giratina goes down. But I believe I made a mistake in this game instead. So I think I actually swap out here instead. Yeah, I swap here, and they have a Registeel in the back. So this, unfortunately, is going to cost us the game because that Swampert didn't throw any energy, so it's loaded now, and that's going to be too much for Escavalier to overcome. And if we just maintained alignment there, we came with the Swampert against the Lapras against the Swampert, save the Escavalier for the Registeel, and likely taking this game in pretty convincing fashion. So don't like the way I play there. I know sometimes it makes sense to swap out, prevent the farm down, but in this particular situation, it probably would have worked out a lot better to just have let the Giratina go down. So I'm going to come with Giratina here actually and hope to farm down the Registeel, but they come in instead with the Swampert. So I'll likely get a shield here, I believe. And then unfortunately for us, we're just going to get outpaced here, and Hydro Cannon really, so you see it does about 50%. At this point, the next one's going to KO, so we will shield this up, but I don't even have Drill Run. This is one of the drawbacks to not having Drill Run, because Acid Spray wouldn't KO here anyways, so you kind of need Drill Run there or get to the Megahorn, and they just outpace us completely. So Swampert going to farm us down. We lose that game. Definitely could have won that game, I think, if we just didn't swap out into the Lapras, but it is what it is. Mistakes are going to happen. Just have to bounce back and try not to make the same ones. So Escavalier into Greedent. Greedent's obviously very bad for Giratina, so you love to see this lead here on the Escavalier. Crunch will hurt a bit, but Body Slam isn't doing anything. So Crunch comes through, does a decent amount, and I'm going to go straight for the Megahorn right here. Not really expecting a shield from the Greedent, but they do shield, so I was a little bit surprised by that. And we could take another move here, so I'm not going to shield. Will be a Crunch. No, I actually go for Body Slam, which is even better for us. And at this point, it's only another Body Slam, so I will actually shield at this point. I didn't have to, but we did, and they come with Sylveon. So I'm going to throw an Acid Spray right here, which will lower the defense, and then swap out into the Lapras. Now, Lapras here should be able to KO with one Surf because of that drop defense on the Sylveon. So this should be enough to take it out right here. Or just falls one short, but we are able to Ice Shard down. Now the Greedent, no, Obstagoon comes in. Okay, so this is looking really good here for, actually, it's looking really good for Escavalier, but it's quite low in health. It's looking really bad for Giratina. But thankfully for us, Lapras is putting in some work here. Going to take the Night Slash right here. No boost, please. No boost. Come in with the Escavalier. At this point, we have to shield. And the Greedent should be drawing energy. So if they swap out here, I'm going to actually just throw the Acid Spray. If this gets... Even if it doesn't get the shield, it's going to lower the defense. And now they should be in the range of 1 Dragon Claw. So we should be fine here. I'm going to overfarm. Crunch isn't going to knock us out, of course. It does a bit of damage, but Dragon Claw with the drop defense should be more or less enough to KO here. Maybe give us a bit of farm. No, it just overkill. Obstagoon comes back in. We are way too healthy here, so just need 2 Dragon Claws to win this game. The Obstagoon is going to have to get to a couple of Night Slashes as well, and it's basically in 1 counter range. It can't overfarm here. It needs to throw another Night Slash, and there's no way it could store a second one without getting knocked out first. So Giratina Dragon Claw comes through, take that game, and we're off to a 3-1 start, I believe, in this set. So a 5th battle right here, and I believe this is where we made another misplace. So Escavalier to Swampert. Swampert, of course, a very difficult lead for Escavalier, but 2 good answers in the back. So swap out to Lapras. Against Swampert, I typically prefer to swap out into Lapras just because it seems to have a bit better of a match. Ice Shard really chunks away and Surf still hurts. So decision to make here, call the Earthquake. They bait with the Hydro Cannon. I actually felt like that was a bit too early, but we did shield anyways. It might have been Earthquake and they just baited us. So it is what it is. Cresselia comes in here. And it's actually Future Sight. So it's a little bit better for Lapras, but of course, not an ideal situation. Anyway, he's going to go for the Skull Bash right here. Does a lot of damage. And didn't think I'd get to another move. But I actually swap on Escavalier instead because I have desync switch timer. So that's actually an even better play right there. And I'll just build up for the Megahorn right here. So take another move here. It is a Future Sight. Should overfarm a little bit more here, but don't want to let them switch out. So I'm going to throw here. Megahorn will be enough to take out the Cresselia, of course, and the Swampert will come back in. It's probably at a Hydro Cannon, to be honest. So I am able to get to the Acid Spray, which is huge. This could potentially get a shield from the opponent, which it does. That's massive, and they're forced to throw here because they cannot farm down. So Hydro Cannon coming through. We are looking like we're in a pretty good spot right now. Coming with the Lapras, a beautiful catch onto Umbreon, and now we are looking really bad. So I'm going to look to build up to the Surf right here, get this off, and allow the Umbreon to actually knock us out. This should be CMP because they want to get rid of this Lapras immediately. I contemplated shielding here, but I decided to let it go through because I'm pretty sure they outpace us to the next foul play. So I decided to come with the Giratina instead. I think the second foul play is only 3, so they should have outpaced us there to the Surf. Foul play comes through. I actually thought we still had a chance here, but it was really dependent on the opponent. So I'm going to throw another Dragon Claw right here. Now they should have a Hydro Cannon ready to go, but I remember underestimating how much energy they actually had. So I let this go through here, and they swap out into Swampert. Now at this point I should have thrown already because I think they're in the range where it would have knocked out, but I decided to overfarm a little bit, and now we lose CMP on the second because I didn't throw earlier. I actually think if we threw earlier, they probably would have got knocked out, and we could have got to Dragon Claw to knock out the Umbreon. So I think I threw that game. We end up going 3-2 in that set with 2 games that I felt were winnable, but once again, you have to learn from those games and move on. 24-96. So after that last set, we ended up going 2-3 in the next one, and that dropped us down a bit. So this set right here is one in which we went 5-0 in order to reach veteran rank for the season. So a very positive lead right here. They swap out into Swampert, and you want to swap out into Lapras immediately when you see that happen. I've stayed in that matchup too long with the Escavalier before, thinking that building up energy, storing it, or throwing the Acid Spray is the right play. It is not the right play. You do not need Acid Spray to win this match. Just come in with the Lapras and take care of work. So I'm going to shield up the Hydro Cannon right here. We would survive, but I don't want to give them the opportunity to take switch advantage here, right? We have a very dominant matchup with the Escavalier on the Obstagoon, so I want to maintain that. We will shield here. We'll go down both shields, but Escavalier doesn't need a shield. We'll farm down. This guarantees a Surf will get off on the Obstagoon, and then we'll come in with the Escavalier once they take out the Lapras. So Escavalier, the Obstagoon here going to farm us down. Totally fine. We come in with the Escavalier. And again, nothing's going to threaten us with a KO here, so Night Slash comes through. They actually get the boost, but they swap out into the Venusaur, so I'm going to go for the Acid Spray right here. very dominant matchup with the Giratina in the back. So we could definitely take a move here. I want to get some energy on this Escavalier before swapping out. So I build up to the Acid Spray and then swap out into the Giratina. So at this point, Giratina, very dominant position. I'll likely throw one Dragon Claw and then just commit to the complete farm down, because remember their defense has been lowered. So farm down here is totally plausible. And now we have some Dragon Claws to throw at the Obstagoon. They don't want the smoke, so we take that game and we go a perfect 5-0 in that set, which is going to bring us into veteran rank. I think part of what makes this team work is the surprise factor of an Acid Spray plus Megahorn moveset, and Skull Bash on Lapras could also catch a lot of opponents off guard. So once that surprise factor is kind of taken away, it might make sense to switch up the moveset to Drill Run or whatnot. But for the time being, the movesets are working, the team is working, and I highly recommend this line if you are looking for a non-XL team to help you climb up in the ranks. If you guys enjoyed this video, please consider leaving a like, commenting, subscribe to the channel. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you guys in the next video. Take care.